What's more natty, testosterone or creatine?
Creatine.
Is it, though? We produce testosterone. Do we produce creatine, or do we consume it through red meat, Dave?
I would say, based on adding the two chemicals into your system, the least natural will be the one that has the greatest impact. And in this case, it's you take 50 grams of creatine, you're going to shit through the eye of a needle, but you ain't growing any bigger.
There's that. Yeah.
You increase the dose of test, you are going to get some direct correlation.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast with Dave Crosland. I'm Scott McNally, and all of our programming is brought to you by evalbloodanalysis.com. You can get your labs done by Dave if you're in the UK. He's trying not to. As you guys know, Dave famously yawns at the beginning of every episode. We just caught
halfway through it and two-thirds of the way through it.
There you go. For anybody who wants to comment and complain. We're also brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there for additional savings on all your basic bodybuilding supplements. They've got some of the best protein powder available on the market today. Code THINK gets you 10% off. We're brought to you by Strom Sports Nutrition. For those of you in the UK and in the US, they've got some great health stacks. I'm using, that's something different. I'm using Thrombomax right now, and I've got my Support Max here too. I didn't want to show that other one on the screen. Also, last but not least, thank you guys from Patreon. All right, Dave, we've got a ton of listener questions. We're going to answer those as we always do. For anybody new tuning in, Dave is an expert witness for the UK court system, testifying in cases of PEDs and steroids. You can see he's very attentive, very excited for the program today. And he's also an educator to the police, the military, and really the general public of the UK. You may have seen him in the movies Under Construction 1 and 2 when he was 400 and something pounds. Dave, I got a topic for you, all right? Before we get into our listener questions. I did this on a live stream, Ask Me Anything, a couple months ago now. I want to get your opinion, all right? The tiers of steroid use, dosing wise, all right? Because we have everybody complaining, right? That like, that's not a dose, that's not enough. Or guys saying that's too much. And we kind of talked about this last week, but let's freaking put the nail in this coffin so that everybody can stop their bitching. Let's talk about what are the tiers. And here's the tiers. I want to know these doses. We've got legit TRT, all right? Then we've got TRT Plus. Then we've got legit all on cycle. Like, there is no denying it, man. You're on a cycle, which is, I know, arguably TRT Plus is a cycle, but we're beyond that. You can't call it that anymore. You're on a cycle. And then there is like absolutely supercharged. I'm going to nationals this year. Let's call it those 4 levels. How does that dosing break down? So for starters, I guess, what is true TRT?
A gram.
A gram. You're telling me
is
that a gram total?
Yes, and then TRT plus is 2 gram, and the cycle is 3 gram, and then if you want to grow muscle, it's 4 gram plus. No, TRT, I think the clue is in the name. It is testosterone replacement therapy, so therefore my approach is it is the dose required to replicate good, healthy, natural levels.
Okay.
Not above range, in range, good, healthy, natural levels. That's TRT. And I think it's, to me, my big bugbear about the TRT Plus and all that thing is not the doses. It's not the drugs. It's the terminology.
It's the ownership. It's the ownership.
It's TRT is a therapeutic medical dosing to replicate natural levels. That's it. No more, no less. Done. Box. Deal. You want to take more? Fine. Don't give a fuck. Take more. But do not call it TRT. That's where my bugbear is.
Okay. Now, TRT Plus, where does that enter in? And where does it end? Where does TRT Plus end in, getting into
I would say we are anything above range, probably capped around 300, 350 mg total a week.
Okay. Let me ask you this. If I normally had like 700 tests on US scale, and then I get on TRT and I'm pushing 850, or let's just say I had 500 tests naturally. Everything feels good, but then I go on TRT and I'm at 850. Is that TRT plus?
No, it's TRT because you're still within the natural ranges.
Okay. Okay. So
It's not. It's not where you were in comparison to what you were providing, because you go on TRT because your test is low.
Yeah.
It's about not making your test super pharmacological in what is effectively a medical prescribed treatment in the sense of what it's supposed to be. If you want to take more than TRT, that's fine, but just don't call it TRT.
Okay.
Because my issue is that calling it TRT normalizes high use in relative to natural levels. Not high use as in overall high use, because it is a low dose comparative to a cycle. But when you use the terminology TRT, you normalize it. You make it as being correct, legit, and there's no concerns around it. And
I gotcha.
That isn't the case. So this is why I've got this strong distinction thing around TRT and cycle dosings that are above.
Okay. And I think then too, so we get into that TRT plus range. One thing that I think people need to understand too is that, so testosterone is a hormone, obviously, that exists in our bodies, right? And it acts like that hormone is supposed to at normal doses. But when you start getting above that, it becomes drug-like. You know, if you take too much vitamin C, guess what? You just pee the rest of it out. It's not like you can, it's not like you boost your immune system with a gram of vitamin C, and if you take 20 grams of vitamin C, you've got 20 times the immune system. There is an element of, as you build that testosterone, now you start getting a drug-like effect, super physiological. So we're getting into that range now with TRT plus. You said it was up to, you consider 350 TRT plus. Is that like just total hormone, or what do you, testosterone?
That's total hormone. I think there's not a distinct line. I wouldn't say that 350 is TRT plus and 351 is cycle. But I would say that, when you start getting 350, 400, close to 5, you're now moving into cyclitic sort of dosings.
Yeah.
Where I could see argument for someone running 200 mega test and 100 mega Masteron as a high cruise or TRT.
Yeah. Okay. I would probably personally take I'm guessing, and obviously we're just making this up as we go based off our experience. It's not like this is written in stone. I would say for me, maybe my line would be about 300. Which isn't far off.
Yeah, it's there or thereabouts.
All right.
I think there's quite a broad band of crossover depending on the individual as well. I mean, I do legitimately know people that have to dose 250 milligrams a week to maintain just a mid-upper range natural level because their metabolism of the drug is so high. So, there are going to be people that fall out of these categories. So that's why I don't mind having like 100, 150 milligram crossover band where it's a bit,
Yeah. All right. So legit cycles, that starts then in your book today, in this conversation at least, at anything from above 350. Really.
Well, I would say, you sort of 400, 500 and above is where your cycles are starting. Obviously, with the 400-500 being most people's first cycle sort of dosing, and most people are going to sit around that sort of range for a first cycle or potentially a second cycle.
Yeah. And you can do a lot. I think that's where most of our listeners are going to live when it comes to cycling, is kind of in this range. So, all right, I don't know if we need one more section or if we need two more, but anything, what's above what we would call like standard bro cycles?
I think that a standard bro cycle is probably going to run anywhere from 5 to 1,200, 1,500.
Okay, 1,200, 1,500. And that's total milligrams. So
yes.
Like that's like 600 tests, 600 EQ, or 750 tests, 600 EQ, Yeah.
And then I think you start getting into more competitive and serious dosings, 1.5 grams up to 2.5, capping off of about 3. And we discussed this last week that I think beyond 3, there's arguably more negatives than there is positives at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, like cost to benefit starts shifting.
Massively. And there will be exceptions, and there will be occasions where a chic approach, or a really high cycle approach, may yield benefit for a short exposure. I cannot see any real advantage to anyone going above 4.5, 5 at any point.
Ooh, that is so much gear, dude. So much
but
gear.
I know plenty that have done it.
Yeah.
And
I never reached that.
I mean, I did, but that was deliberate. But I know plenty of people that have got into those sort of doses through experimentation and just progressively overloading what they do.
Whew.
And then ultimately 95% of them have gone no and pulled back down to the sort of 2.5, 3 range.
Yeah, you mentioned that last episode. I think that makes a lot of sense because I feel like I did that myself with progressing, and hey, if this much did good, what would a little bit more do? And you repeat that process over and over until you reach a point where you're like, wow, the benefit of that wasn't as great. And for me, it's like the logistics. I remember thinking like, God, just the amount of pinning that you have to do when you get up to, the over 2 grams it can be pretty substantial.
Well, I mean, at 4.5, I was putting in, the most I put in of test was 3 gram a week.
Okay.
And that was a full vial. So that's 10 mil of oil a week. And
it's expensive too then.
It is, but it's a lot of sites as well. I mean, you end up daily injecting, not because of you want to spread it out in a sense of you think there's any benefit to it, just in the case of it's the only way to get all the freaking oil in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of times guys end up doing more site shots, and they get into the delts, rear delts, biceps, into the triceps. I know you did calves. I'd never, ever, 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 ever.
I wouldn't recommend it, but for some reason, I just tolerate it well. I don't know why, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it to the average person because in all theory, it should be absolutely horrendous, but for some reason, I got on with it really well. And yeah, I didn't get on with quads and I didn't get on with glutes.
I always had a hard time with quads. I felt like the tissue there is just like so freaking dense. It's not like, I don't know, man. There's no give to it. It's not very flexible.
I tried pec. That didn't do much for me. I tried lat. That didn't do much for me. In both those sites, it just ended up pooling and staying, and it was really difficult to get it to disperse. Whereas buys, tries, delts, and cars, it dispersed really well.
Also, too, you had a lot of buys. Like if you were at what were your arms at their biggest?
13-inch.
Did you say 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. What are you at now? Like 12.5 still?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sorry,
let's see
wrist.
that arm. I know you still got it.
My wrist.
I know you still got an arm on you.
I've not got much, mate. I've not got much.
You got a lot. You got a little bit left. As my good friend Dave Calick used to say, it was his leftover muscle. He was still like a big jack dude, and he'd be like, "Dude, Dave, you look huge." He's like, "Oh, this is just my leftover muscle."
I haven't trained arms 5 years.
Yeah,
longer. I haven't
What's
trained
up
him
with,
seriously for 8 years.
Have you trained at all with Zach Kahn recently? How's he doing?
No, just time. He's Zach's all right. I haven't seen him as much as I'd like, and I haven't had a chance to get over anywhere because it's like an hour and a half for me to get to him, hour and 20 minutes.
I can picture him now. Oh, boo-hoo, Dave.
Yeah. It's about much sympathy, but no, it's just been time. Time's just been against me for a while now, and I need to get better organised and get back on top of it. But I'm getting there.
We got to get him back on the show at some point. I mean, we'll instantly be demonetized, but that's okay.
Actually, he'd probably want to come on because he's done an ebook series, so he'd probably be quite interesting coming on talking about that.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that recently. All right, let's plan it, and you guys tell us in the listening audience couple things. Number one, do you want Zach Kahn back on the show? And number two, where are your lines in this like made up conversation of TRT versus TRT Plus versus actual legit cycle versus like supercharged competitor. I'm curious to hear what our listeners have to say on how those things fall in, because Dave, like we've talked about it so many times, there's so many arguments about like, you know, the 10 milligrams of Anavar is not enough versus, you know, the other guy saying that 60 milligrams is going to absolutely obliterate you, you know?
And it's personal experience as well, isn't it? And I think a lot as well, you know, war stories influence this a lot, because you'll hear guys say, oh, yeah, I fucked my liver because I took 50 milligrams of Anavar. And what he really means is I went for a blood test and my alt was a little bit high and I shit myself because I didn't know what it was. But,
yeah, there's that.
You know, there's stuff like that goes on all the time. I mean, I get people messaging me about their bloods going, oh, am I going to die? You know, this is a really... And it's just because they don't know. So they look at a blood result, see loads of red and think, oh, shit. It's like, that's normal, that's normal, that's normal. Or maybe that one you could do with doing something about, but that one's normal.
Yeah. Studies show creatine doesn't just fuel your muscles, it fuels your brain. Research links creatine to improved memory, focus, and mental clarity, especially while under stress. It helps reduce mental fatigue, supports learning, and may even protect long-term brain health. I order my creatine from True Nutrition. Use code THINK at checkout to get 10% off and support this podcast. Power your body and your mind with True Nutrition creatine. By the way, this is my actual morning routine, mixing 15 grams of creatine into my oats. No flavor, no texture. And hey, since I got married, we store it in this fancy jar so it doesn't look like my wife lives with a bro. But hey, if you're single, just leave it in the bag on the counter. It's totally fine. All right, listen, we got a bunch of listener questions. We got people in the stream too. Hey, shout out to Peter. I want to throw this up there. He says, my favorite pod, and I'm catching it live. With the help of this channel, I've successfully lost 153 pounds in 10 months. Self-coached and trained. The information shared here is, I think he said life-changing at the end. It was life something, and then it went away.
That's impressive.
Yeah, great job, dude. Yeah, the information here is life-changing and priceless. Thanks for being with us, man. That's exactly what I hope for. You know, it's like, it's awesome. I love being able to coach people one-on-one, as do you. But you know what? We can reach a lot more people with the channel. And although it's not personalized individual information, if you listen to all these shows, you can figure out a lot on your own. Here's a good question for you out of the chat from last week. By the way, guys, if you want to take part in the next show, comment with your questions. We're going to try to run through as many of these as we can. What's more natty, testosterone or creatine?
Creatine.
Is it though? We produce both. Or we produce testosterone. Do we produce creatine, or do we consume it through red meat, Dave?
I would say, based on adding the two chemicals into your system, the least natural will be the one that has the greatest impact. And in this case, it's you take 50 grams of creatine, you're going to shit through the eye of a needle, but you ain't growing any bigger.
There's that. Yeah.
You increase the dose of test, you are going to get some direct correlation. Oh, yes. Romana and Danielle have got engaged.
Yes. Did you call him Danielle?
Yes, Danielle, yes.
Dambastic.
So
Great couple.
It was Romana's 50th at the weekend, or the other day, 14th. And Dan proposed to her.
You're kidding me. Did you say it was her 50th? She's not 50. So, guys, that was an inside joke between him.
You're 56, Scott. So, I mean,
I guess anything's possible then, right? I thought it was 57, and I just had a birthday.
It was her birthday. On Sunday, she was 40, and Dan proposed to her.
All
and
right.
the stupid woman said yes.
Hey, yeah, it's on her now. It's on her.
Yeah.
We had a couple interesting points, and I don't know how we're talking about EQ and anxiety and stuff. Somebody said, I've always thought that the mid to high dose Proviron would be great for people who come off heavier cycles to get depressed and have massive change in their psychological well-being. Proviron with DHEA and pregnenolone for some or for some other neurosteroids. Somebody commented back saying Proviron is rubbish. It ain't worth doing anything with it. But you know what though? I looked it up
It's
androgens
a mild,
do have an
it's a mild
antidepressant
DHT.
effect.
Yeah, it is a mild DHT, and it's metabolized by muscle tissue, so you're not really seeing you're not seeing an anabolic effect from it.
Yeah, but
the only potential I could see, I suppose a lot would depend on dosing, and I wouldn't even know where to start with dosing, would be the potential of low estrogen.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Which
and somebody else. Okay. I was going to say, somebody else said, speaking on anabolics and mental health stuff, I had panic attacks for years and was on, he was on a benzo a day for 16 years and found out that he had low T. After he started TRT, he had no more anxiety, just stayed on the TRT and didn't need the medications anymore.
No, I've heard that story several times, particularly UK based, because they're very quick to offer out antidepressants.
Yeah, right.
Rather than look at hormones. I had anxiety issues for quite a few years, but it was down to ephedrine.
Oh yeah, that might do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I did look it up, Proviron in depression, and I did see some stuff that was basically like, hey, androgens are basically antidepressants. I guess it makes sense. When we increase our testosterone, we're also increasing dopamine. So, there is that, right?
Yeah, I think that the problem is it's a fine line, isn't it? Before you get an increase in neuron activity. Yeah. But if it goes too high, you end up with anxiety and overthinking because you've got too much neuron activity that you can't regulate.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main actions from Tren with anxiety is its reduction in stuff like GABA, but it's increase in neuron activity.
All right. Well, listen, guys, if you're new to our content and you haven't seen this show before, welcome. We're happy to have you. This is Dave right here. Hi, Dave. I'm Scott. And we would love to have you along for all the stuff we do. So if you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, you'll be more likely to see us. Otherwise, you probably won't see us again. So anyway, either way, we're happy to have you today.
And thank you for supporting two mentally challenged individuals in their online ramblings.
Yeah. All right. How about this one? I think this guy's having an ACL surgery. Okay, yeah. He says he's currently waiting for ACL reconstruction surgery, which is booked for the 30th of September. So he's got 2 weeks from the time we're recording this. I want to start a cycle ASAP after the surgery to help recovery and repair. I haven't been on cycle for almost 2 years due to waiting for the surgery. NHS wait times. I didn't want them to deny me surgery because of elevated levels, so I dropped all the gear. I just wanted to know what would be the best to run. I know Test, Deca, and Anavar are highly recommended, but I didn't want to run all of those at once on my first cycle. But I want to get the most I can and put this cycle into helping me recover quicker. Any advice would be great. Just so you know, I have run cycles before my injury 2 years ago, mainly Test and Mast and Winstrol occasionally. He said he started watching a couple months ago, and he's watched all the old episodes since. Oh, and he says recommendation for Dave, since he likes Fazendra Restaurant so much, he would love Hickory Smokehouse. Give it a try.
Nice shit. The problem with the Hickory's, when you look at the menu, it looks really nice, right? And it's an American diner. When you actually eat the stuff, it's all very much the same. It's not really stand out in flavour. Everything's got a heavy barbecue to it, and it's just a sauce. You know what I mean? It's not a true rubbed smoked barbecue.
What's an American diner, by the way? Because I just called it a diner here.
Because it serves American style food.
What is American style food?
So for us, American style food is things like burgers, steaks, ribs, barbecue type stuff, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
But no, I'm not. I don't mind Hickory's as a restaurant. It's not a bad place to be, but I'm not a massive fan of the menu. I think it's a bit bland.
Okay. All right. Well, what about his ACL reconstruction? He wants to hop on gear straight away. I had ACL reconstruction. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it was years ago, like 97, I think. And it's held up, man. They used a piece of my patella tendon. So now they'll usually use cadaver, but they used a piece of my patella tendon from my right knee, strung it up as my ACL on my left knee, meaning they had to flay both legs open for this procedure, meaning my legs were both in splints for 30 days and I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk for 30 days. Now it's a lot faster than that. You're back on your feet like real quick.
I don't think a cycle personally is a good idea. I do think adding supported chemicals is a good idea, but I would avoid a cycle. I see no benefit to it. I would make sure that test levels are healthy. I would definitely look at GH. I would definitely look at collagen. I would definitely look at TB and BPC. You've had some experience with Anavar and injury repair. I haven't, so I'm not sure on that one. I just, maybe a therapeutic sort of style dose a deca, 50, 100 milligrams on so effectively what we'd call a TRT Plus. But I don't see any real benefit to running a full-blown cycle because you're not training, and that extra level of anabolics is going to add no extra to the recovery. And in an untrained state, anabolics will weaken connective tissue. Yeah. It's only when we do it combined with a trained state that we get the connective tissue strengthening. So when you look at the research around anabolics, it shows that they weaken connectivity or connective tissue if the tissue's not trained. But because anabolics allow for heavier and harder training, if you're training, there's an actual net gain, so it offsets it and there's an actual net gain. But obviously you're not going to be training that ACL because it's just been built. So I would keep the anabolics to a minimum and focus on stuff like growth hormone, peptides, and that side of things.
Josh says that it's called an autograph. Those are still done. Worked with a college football player who had one a couple years ago. That's the type I had.
That's an autograph.
Graft. So here, check this out, man. I remember when I got the procedure done, first they went in and they cleaned up all the cartilage. And when they got in there, that's when they realized that the ACL was even torn. They were doing a scope. They removed 90% of the cartilage out of my left knee. And they got in there and realized, oh, yeah, it's worse. You have torn ACL. So then I had to go back in for that. But they looked at me and they're like, you know what? We need to get that leg as strong as possible first before you go in for the surgery, because you will experience muscle loss afterward. And it's crazy, man. So they put me on this machine, Dave, where you do it's a leg extension, but it's you can't lift it all the way up, and it's hooked up to a machine. It tells you how hard you're pressing. And then they said, okay, we want you to follow this physical therapy, which I did to a T. And then come back in, I think, 6 weeks, and then we'll retest you to see if you've built it up enough. So I come back in 6 weeks, and dude, that's when I realized that I had some level of genetics, because I wasn't bodybuilding at the time. But I remember the shorts I had been wearing for physical therapy, like my legs would look normal in them at first. When I came back, my legs literally were stretching the shorts. And the doctor looked at me and he was like, I was excited because I'm like, I get to do the test again and see how strong I got. He was like, oh, we don't even need to do the test. You're not going to have to do it. You've got plenty of muscle. So anyway, though, after the surgery, it literally just zapped everything. Both legs shrunk down immensely. And that's generally what happens after the surgery. So I could see some level of anabolics in there being a good idea, but I wouldn't go crazy. I think what he's thinking is, I'm going to blast and do this cycle. Dude, you're not going to be able to do any heavy leg movements. This is all about therapy. So I would keep it light, keep it modest. This isn't a big blast. I'm with Dave. TB and BPC, collagen, vitamin C is a huge one. And then from there, maybe a low dose cycle, low dose test with some Anavar, 25 a day, or, a small amount of 100 milligrams a deca, something like that is really all you need. Get yourself into a good recovered state. Then if he PCTs, I assume, PCT, come off, recover, and then do your next blast. You'll be fine. You'll make more progress that way too, I promise.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. How about this one? Oh, nice comment. Professional show, somebody says. I don't know what program they were watching, but
yeah, you just switched channels, mate. You got that wrong.
yeah. How about this one? How bad are the health effects, cholesterol, etc., from injectables versus orals? I assume injectables are healthier, but read injectable Winstrol is just as bad as the oral form.
Injectable forms of orals don't really serve any benefit from a health point of view, apart from the fact that you won't irritate the stomach lining or that side of things. So they're still 17 alkylated, they still stress the liver, they still have the same impact on lipids, more or less. There might be slight benefits, but nothing that would be particularly noticeable. The lipid argument is a long and varied one, with people still very strongly feeling that lipids aren't that much of a concern. I disagree, but I'm open to the fact that that might not be right, but I'd rather err on the side of caution, considering that cardiovascular problems is the biggest problem facing any anabolic steroid user. But generally speaking, injectables are going to be gentler on lipids than orals. However, dosing is much more capable on injectables, and so dosing can definitely offset the harshness that orals have on that side of health. So, 50 milligram of Anavar or 50 milligram of Winstrol, yeah, it's going to be harsh on lipids, but so is 500 Primo.
Yeah.
And probably more so. So, because you've got 500 milligrams, obviously milligram for milligram, the orals are harsher. But because of the reality of where the doses are, sometimes there's very little difference whatsoever. So, but I'm just a great believer in that lipids do play a role in long-term cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
How much directly, I know is heavily disputed. I know the Heart Foundation has not tied a direct link to LDL being a cause of heart disease, etc., etc., etc. But I do think the HDL-LDL ratio is a very important factor in long-term cardiovascular health.
I'll say this. I personally think that orals tend to zap HDL faster than a lot of your cycles will with injectable products. But I mean, then we have to look at what are the injectables, like you said, Primo. I think DHTs are going to be more likely to impact your cholesterol, than say a 19-nor or a testosterone-based compound. So, like, how about Test versus Anavar? I would definitely say Test would be less affecting on your cholesterol. Granted, assuming that the doses were comparable, right?
I agree.
What you doing there? You got some business you're attending to, Dave? A little work there on the what you doing there? Who you talking to?
I'm talking to my Oxford clinic who had a question that needed answering.
What's your Oxford clinic?
It's a clinic in Oxford.
But what is that?
What do you mean? What is it?
A clinic.
Yeah, where people go to get their bloods done.
Okay, I didn't know. It could be.
Well, what do you think it was?
I take my dog to a clinic, too.
You need to go to a fucking clinic.
I can't find this one, dude. Somebody had a really good point. He was like, hey, I get where you guys are coming from. I think, but, you can't really call it just like, I don't like the milligrams, the total milligrams, because Tren is a lot stronger. So,
I agree. I agree.
So if you're like, oh, you're good at 500 total milligrams, well, like 500 total milligrams of what?
Very valid point. Yes, I agree. But the problem is to relay information in bite-sized, consumable bits. It has to be simplified.
Yeah.
And the reality of this is, though there will be somebody, the vast majority of people are not going to do a primarily Tren cycle. There will be some that do. I know that. I know that someone's going to pop up in the feed and go, I did, just trying to only. Yeah, well, fine.
Right.
But
Yes, you're unique. You're a snowflake. You're special. We recognize
you. Ride the short bus and lick windows. Yes, but, you know, for the average user, most cycles are going to be test-based with something else.
I like this one.
I've seen the Stewie comment.
Yeah. Scott reminded me of Stewie from Family Guy. What you working on there, Brian? Working on that novel, Brian? Do you watch Family Guy ever?
I have, but not for a long time.
Yeah, me either. It's been some time. It's a great show, though.
I'm watching a weird one at the moment called Out of the Badlands.
The Badlands or Outward?
Out of the Badlands.
Out of the Badlands. Huh. Okay. We just finished watching Jack Ryan. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It was good. It was like based off a Tom Clancy book. He's like working for the CIA and stuff. It's a good show. What's this Out of the Badlands show?
Post-apocalyptic.
Oh, I like that stuff. Victoria doesn't like that stuff, though.
And there's the area, the Badlands, is split into 5 regions controlled by barons, very sort of cultish. And there's loads of internal fighting. And it focuses around this regent who is like a lead killer for one of the barons.
Okay.
Controls his armies, and he basically has had enough and wants to leave. And he's in love with a medicine woman, and she's pregnant. And there's lots of internal treachery and stuff like this. And then there's these dark ones, which are people with this genetic gift that when they get cut, they turn into psychopathic killers. And they're sort of collected by this lead monk, and it's all a bit. There's quite a few themes going on, but it's not the best produced program, far from it, but it's definitely watchable.
Yeah, I'll have to make note of that one and check it out. Check this one out in the stream from James. He says, "Hello, Dave. Olympia level competitors. How do they have great skin while on gear? What are they taking?" Also, you used 0 periods or any kind of punctuation except for "Hello, Dave," period. Then it's just Olympia level competitors. How do they? It's just one big sentence, James. You need to work on your punctuation, bro.
Scott struggles with this. You've got to be.
I do. Because I'm trying to read it with inflection, and I don't know where to stop because you didn't tell me where to stop.
There are a few pros that don't have good skin.
Yeah.
And I believe Mr. Walker's had some problems in the past.
Yeah?
Although I don't think it's so much I'm sure Nick Walker had bad skin, didn't he, for a while? Way back?
I don't ever remember him having bad skin, and I've followed him since he was amateur.
Well, then, maybe I've got that wrong and got it mixed up with somebody else.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, even the pros sometimes have bad skin.
I could be wrong, too. I don't know.
But obviously, I think there's several differences between a true career pro and your average builder. And one of that is a true career pro isn't going to work every day. He isn't getting himself in potentially a dirty environment and everything else that goes with that. And their skin appearance is part of their presentation.
Yeah.
So they know they have to manage that because it's part of how they look. And nobody wants to see a pro showing off the physique if they're covered in zits and acne scars and the rest of it. So there's lots of elements to this. I think potentially there's a genetic element as well. If you're a top pro, you have the genetics to be a top pro, and in part of that will be tolerance of the skin effects from the drugs. I think acne is not such a big issue as it used to be with drug use anymore. I think we've got a better understanding of how to control these things now. And so unless somebody is particularly sensitive, it's not something I see coming up anywhere near as much as it used to. So I think in general we've moved on a little bit with quality of product and understanding estrogen management around its effect on skin and DHT management around its effect on skin. So I think there's a few factors, but I also think that some pros probably have quite heavy skin regimes to keep it at bay.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of one of the things you touched on is that not everybody is genetically predisposed to acne. And that could be a genetic trait for like making you a good bodybuilder. You know, you don't like Ron Partlow has said, like, I didn't really ever have stomach issues, so I can't really relate to you. It's like, yeah, I felt bloated because I was 300 pounds, but you know, he didn't have stomach issues. Just like, you know, a lot of guys are like, I never had acne, just never was something that came up.
No, I never had an issue with acne. Not
But
odd one now and again, but not actual outbreaks. Apart from when I got the real deep rosacea stuff on my face, which was drug, but it was stress, drug, toxicity, not hormonal imbalance issues.
Yeah. I think too that we learn to manage the compounds. That's part of becoming a good bodybuilder, becoming a pro, or just becoming an experienced, you know, seasoned vet at the game. That I think early on we start breaking out and we're like, oh, I'm just going to keep pushing through this. You know what I mean? Or you get gyno and you're like, what do I do with this? But you keep taking the gear, you know, how do I get rid of this? Like, you know, you kind of figure out how to manage these things. And especially after it happens once, then you're better at being able to catch it. Like, oh, now I know I'm prone to this, and you can adjust, be it pulling the doses back, be it certain compounds, be it the nuclear option, running Accutane, and potentially, like Dave Palumbo's talked about it, I used Accutane as well, that it will permanently change the amount of oil the sebaceous gland pushes out. Yeah. So, I think that those are all factors there. Also, too, once you put the tan on, and you can kind of hide acne. You know, there is that.
There is. There's lots of factors. I think as well when you're more, or should I say, less experienced. I was going to say more naive, but it's the wrong terminology. As long as when you're less experienced, your cycles are much more precious to you. When as you've been cycling for a number of years, you're not so opposed to stopping a cycle short because things aren't quite going how you want them to go, and you understand that actually if I stop this now, regroup and come back at it, I'm probably going to have a better situation than if I try and push through it.
Right.
So, and I think that comes with experience and time, where you're much more willing to walk away from a cycle even though it's not finished. Whereas I think when you're in your second or third cycle, you're still very much, I have to do the 10, 12, 16, whatever weeks I've planned. I've got to do them. I've got to stick the course.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing?
Well, I got this product from Parabolic, and I haven't even opened it yet. They sent me this.
And so you decide to do it halfway through. You moan about me answering a question to a clinic, and you're sat there unwrapping early Christmas presents.
Well, this is it's topical copper peptide.
And?
I don't know if you've heard about copper peptide, but it's being used for skin regeneration.
Right.
So this stuff,
and do you have some skin that needs regenerating?
Yeah, dude, I'm 57, remember? 58 now.
So what skin are you regenerating? Your foreskin?
That's gone, long gone. I'm going to do a little rejuvenation therapy. We'll see if I look younger with it. I'm give it a try. I'll keep you posted.
Why not just spend 79 cents and get a filter?
Just I could do that cheaper. Just put a piece of saran wrap over the lens. How about that?
It'd be an improvement.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Thank you. All right. I'll keep you guys posted, though. I am kind of curious to see what this stuff does.
We're not interested.
I know you're not at all, you know. By the way, somebody had a comment. Speaking
Please
of
tune into Drugs and Stuff for Scott's skincare routine.
Hey, this is bodybuilding related. This is bodybuilding, Dave. You remember last week you mentioned something about...
I thought bodybuilding was lifting weights and taking drugs. Okay, go on. I mentioned something about what? God knows. I talk all sorts of shite.
Okay, I can't find it now. But he had said that he had... what was it? The whole thing with you had asked last week about SLU and the new peptides, and will that be an excuse for people to be able to like run more gear year round? Mm-hmm. He said, well, you know, a lot of these guys are using it now, so the proof is going to be in the pudding soon enough, because we're going to start seeing the results. Are we seeing guys with like substantially better labs? You know, I don't know.
The thing is, It's taken probably 10 years for usage trends to actually start to present in health concerns now.
Yeah.
And in some cases 5. So, you know, we've used thyroid meds for years, and we've always been very much of the opinion thyroid's pretty robust. You can pretty much hammer it. It's going to be fine. And now I'm starting to see people with thyroid problems. Not loads, but more than I used to.
Okay.
So we're genuinely seeing people start to have thyroid issues from long-term exposure to stuff like T4 and T3. But that's taken years to become an issue. So I do think we're probably going to be a good 5 years down the line. If we do see a trend to more long-term higher doses supported by these antioxidant peptides and that sort of thing, I do think we're going to be a good 5+ years down the line before we see any result from that sort of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you this. So UC Suma's with us. He's been using it, and he just finished a long contest season, a 3rd show this past weekend. Shout out to him, by the way. He looked incredible. A client of mine. He's with us right now. And he had been using Reta and SLU. His labs looked fantastic 6 weeks into DHB. And now we're going to get labs tested again. Like, they were his best ever labs, you know, on cycle. So, you know, in a prep. So we'll see, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I've got no foregone conclusion at all. I have just no idea.
Yeah.
You know, so it is going to be interesting to see how things pan out.
Blunt Force Tanya also adds on the acne thing. She said vitamin A is pretty underrated as a preventative supplement during cycles, reducing oil production. She's definitely right about that.
I tell you what's a good little old school trick as well, using Head and Shoulders dandruff shampoo as a body wash.
Your mic is really loud today. This, like, all that. I don't know why. I'm just, it's not, I don't think it's your fault. I think
it's always my fault.
So that's for a specific type, like, is it fungal based acne?
It works. It dries the skin, so it works for a lot of, I'm not saying it cures it completely, but it does help keep it under control.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that too. Also, if it's DHT related, Nizoral 1% shampoo is good. We have to get a prescription for that here. It's also good for, I wouldn't say hair restoration, but, you know, maintaining hair. Mm. Hey, you handsomes. You get on gear young and stupid and say, no, I don't ever want to have kids. Fast forward 15 years, meet the girl of your dreams, and you're like, shit, I want to have kids. Could you guys go over the best ways to restore fertility on TRT?
Mate, you don't want kids. Trust me, you do not want kids. They're horrible, little, expensive bastards. Stay infertile. Get a rabbit.
All right. So, get a rabbit. Rabbits stink, dude. I mean, they're cute.
So do kids.
Rabbits. Yeah, that's a good point.
Generally, I would look at, I'd stick TRT to being quite strict. I don't think there's any real benefit to running it slightly above or anything of that nature. I'd do HCG somewhere around the 300 IU mark, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or every other day. And then HMG 75 IU, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. However, HMG is not cheap. So if you're struggling for a cost point of view, target it for like a week, 10 days prior to when your partner is most fertile. So you're giving that sperm the best kick you can before you actually want it. 1 gram of L-carnitine a day will help with sperm mobility and make them little buggers swim better. And vitamin E.
Okay, yeah. What about, did you mention Clomid or enclomiphene?
No, so I know, I think Clomid is definitely very good for a female, by the way. So I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Got to be careful with it, though.
It is.
That's also the quickest way to have quadruplets.
Yes, I say you could also have multiple births with Clomid as well. I was just about to say that. But I'm on the fence how effective Clomid is in a TRT fertility scenario. Definitely in a natural fertility scenario, but I'm not so sure how effective it is in a TRT scenario.
So I'm working with a guy who just came off everything for the past several months. In fact, we literally just started back up on cycle this past week. He got the go-ahead and the clear from his doctor. But they're in a fertility program. And so he's been off using, I believe he was on Clomid, and he's working with a doctor, but I believe he was working with Clomid and HCG, and he's been off all testosterone. And he's maintained all of his muscle, dude. He's maintained his body fat. In fact, he's maintained his strength. He never had a crash because of that combo.
No, I think if you're off, Clomid or Novadex is a very positive move, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw that out there to him, that we're afraid that like we have to come off altogether. I mean, he wasn't making massive strides forward, but he made some good progress still. Like, and he maintained everything. Because here's the kick in the pants of it, Dave. Like, we started working together. He started making tremendous progress, and then his wife was like, "Hey, let's have another kid." And then all of a sudden, in the middle of all of this, he's been on TRT forever, right? We've run cycles together, working together, and now he's got to come off. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be the end of everything, right? No, he like maintained everything and kept getting stronger. So don't be afraid of potentially even coming off and running a program like that. Worked for him. I've seen it work for other guys too, but there is that, and hey, if it didn't work, let's say you get 6 weeks in and you're like, oh God, this is just awful. I feel terrible. Then you could always go back on, right?
Yeah, and like you say, it depends on the individual person at the end of the day. A lot of people think they have to come off, and they don't. But you can obviously try it, and it's not going to do you any harm.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you come off and you can't get it up in the first place, you ain't making no kids, no matter how much sperm you're producing.
Yeah. All right, we got enough time for a couple more here. Hey guys, big fan of the show. Thank you for this channel. It's been an amazing source of information. Thanks, Bob. Glad we can help you. He says, I've had gyno from puberty. It's not horrible. I'm going to start running test, GH, slow taper, 30 milligrams a day of Prop to start, and 2 IUs of GH, testing bloods after 4 weeks, increasing 10 milligrams depending on how the results differ from my Natty blood work. See what I can handle before my E2 starts going up. Getting out of range before I began raising the GH2. I have Aromacin, Nova, Caber, T-Ball, Mast P, Test P, GH on hand. Any recommendations to mitigate sides would be greatly appreciated. I was considering picking up some Anavar and doing a low dose, 10 milligrams a day for my first cycle, for the length of my cycle, for the drive, muscle connection, and health properties or healing properties. I also have SS31, Retta on hand when I start to lean bulk again.
I think you're potentially overthinking this.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a little bit long-winded. So, away from the main topic, Retta, I'm a bit like, do you really want to be using Retta in a cut scenario? Get it, understand it, not a problem. I'm still a bit confused about using Retta in a bulk scenario. I understand the improvement in blood glucose management and rest, but that can be achieved in other ways. I don't understand why you'd want a drug that suppresses your appetite, even though it is the mildest of the 3 GLPs, when you're trying to grow. So that's just a throwaway that was at the end.
I can respond to that.
Okay, well, go on.
I will say that there are additional health benefits too, like
I know.
Detoxing the liver, keeping yourself, if you're in tip-top shape and your insulin sensitivity is high, organ health is great, and you're able to, what I'm finding is it's dose dependent. So like you mentioned, it's out of the 3 common GLPs, it has the least effect on appetite. And generally in bodybuilding, I'm not seeing it being used higher than maybe 2 milligrams. There are people using more than that. I'm not saying they're not, but at least 2. And like the people I talk to, my coaching, I've been around 1.5 to 2.5 to 2 and occasionally 2.5, but we don't really go higher than that. And we're getting good effect in a fat loss state down to 1 milligram in a growth phase. I don't really notice much changes in appetite. I'm monitoring.
Are you noticing any benefits in the growth phase? I mean,
it's hard to say this early in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to say whether it'll be worth it or not. But I'm not seeing it take away from people's ability to eat. And if that were the case, there's been actually, you know what? I take that back. I had a client 2 weeks ago message me, and this was the most perplexing message. He said, I am having, I can't help but cheat on my diet. This guy is always 100%, years. In fact, he's one of my oldest clients. UC Suma, I've literally worked with him for 10 years straight. This guy UC Suma met me through this guy. So I'd been working with him on and off since before Matt. Anyway, so he's always been 100%. He said, I've been cheating on the diet. I cheated like 3 times and I'm having a hard time controlling myself because of the Reta. Like, what?
So do you think that's a case of that you get an initial mild suppression and then as the Reta starts to die off because you're not doing a frequent dosing, that you're getting almost a rebound in appetite?
He's in a growth phase. He's eating a surplus right now. So it didn't make any sense to me, right? I had the same look on my face that you just did. I dug in further. Here's the deal. He said that his appetite is so blunted, he has zero like interest or ability to eat his clean food. So he's starving, but the only thing that would remotely sound okay to put in his stomach are the things he absolutely loves. Yeah. So we pulled the Reta, he's back on. But yeah, in general, I'm not seeing it have that negative effect. I am seeing it being a fantastic tool to get somebody like keyed up to be super insulin sensitive and start bulking. But yeah, time will tell whether the 1 milligram makes a difference or not. So sorry, carry on.
Okay. And then the other thing was, I was just going to say, I think you're overthinking it and being a little bit overcautious. I appreciate that you don't want to worsen the gyno.
Yeah.
But I think a preventive measure of Novadex would be a start point. And then I think you just need to. The thing is, you're going to do 4 weeks, then you're going to test, then you're going to up it a little bit, and you're probably you'll be 12 weeks of messing around before you actually got to a dose that's going to do anything. So I think you can afford to start a bit higher, go in a little bit harder, but just back it up with a load of Novadex. At the end of the day, you're not going to develop gyno instantaneously. You're going to get inflammation primarily first before there's tissue formation. So you're going to get a warning. It might not be the longest of warnings, but it's not going to be an instantaneous effect. So you will know if it's coming, and therefore you can address it. So I would be a little bit, not carefree, I think that's the wrong approach, but probably a little bit less cautious than you are being, though I do understand why you are.
Yeah. So what would you say would be a reasonable plan here then instead?
Well, I wouldn't use prop for a start.
Yeah.
And I would probably start at, is it his first cycle?
It kind of sounds like it is.
Yeah, so I'd probably, because of the gyno issues, I'd probably start 300 milligram test a week.
Yeah. And you would run Novadex with it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I mean, you could even get away with also running, say, 12.5 mg of aromatase twice a week on top of that, because we know there's going to be elevated estrogen of 300. So the only thing we don't know is sensitivity levels. But if we've got Nova and a little bit of aromatase just to take the edge off, test at 4 or 5 weeks, see where you are, and adjust from there, unless you experience any sides prior to that.
So like 20 milligrams Novadex is a standard tablet. Would you use 20 a day or half that? Or?
Oh, I'd start with 20 a day.
Okay.
There's no real negative at that point.
Yeah.
And you're only talking 4 or 5 weeks till you get your first test in and see where you are.
Yeah. So 4 to 5 weeks, get your labs run. I bet you he sees low estrogen if he's doing all that with 300 tests. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a big, like you said, he's overthinking it. It'll be a big worry for,
I understand why. I mean, I think anyone who's experienced gyno naturally is going to be incredibly cautious about using anabolics because they don't want to trigger what they feel is a problem. But often pubescent gyno doesn't carry into adulthood as well. I mean, I know plenty of people that have had pubescent gyno that have no estrogen management issues in adulthood. So there's, it's not a dead cert that it's going to carry through.
I did more so earlier on in bodybuilding, and I just feel like the sensitivity isn't what it used to be now, or maybe I'm just better at managing it or recognizing it before it's a problem.
Well, I think when your tits grow that big, you've got no choice but to accept the tits now, so you don't notice the subtle differences anymore.
Dave spoke about conditioning work during a bulk/blast. Would HIIT training 3 days a week with a sandbag along with sprints be just enough to keep things moving, but not so much to see detrimental returns?
I would say so, yeah. About 20, 25 minutes each session, yeah.
Ooh, that's brutal, man.
I think it's good.
It's brutal. The guy's going to be hating you by the time he's done with that first session, isn't he?
Everybody hates me.
Is that your Uncle Dave's wisdom for the day?
No, I've sort of got some.
You're kidding me.
No, I sent you a message about it.
Oh, you did. That's right. I even forgot. But that helped you remember.
Yeah. I can't remember what I sent you, but I sent you a message about it.
Yeah, me too. I can't remember either. Let's see here. Do you remember what you're going to talk about? One
was the Be Like Water.
Okay.
That was one thing I sent you. Which I know everyone's going to be, well, that's Bruce Lee, which it is Bruce Lee, and that's exactly where it came from. But I'll explain the background to that. And then the other one was something about a speeding fine.
Speeding camera in Sweden?
That's it, yes. Okay. So I'll start with the first one.
Dave sent me that at 2 a.m. on Friday.
This actually happened. So in Sweden...
4, 5, 6, 7 a.m.
They changed a speeding camera so that it didn't issue points or notifications of fines to people that sped.
Okay.
What it did is it financially rewarded people that didn't speed.
Oh, wow.
And it proved to be so much more successful.
I like the sounds of that. I'd be rich right now because I do pretty good on the road.
So, my reason I brought that up was that it makes a very, very valid point that though fear of repercussion or discipline will cause people to perform, you will always get better performance and more long-term performance if you reward good performance. But the key is that you reward good performance. You don't reward adequate performance. So, as say you employ people, or even in just the people you work with, you may be a team manager, you should expect a certain standard of performance from your staff or your team.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't make excuses if they fall below that, because there should be a minimum standard that they're achieving. But if they go beyond that, you should reward that. That will not only make the person that achieves above and beyond feel appreciated and wanted and be encouraged to do more, it will also create inspiration in the others to step up to perform more, rather than a punishment mentality which just forces people to do enough to get through without getting bollocked.
Yeah, I could go with that, man. I like that.
That was that one. And then the other one, and I haven't read the book in the slightest, it is sat at the side of my bed, and my wife put it there for some weird reason. And it's the Bruce Lee book, Be Like Water. Well, written by his daughter, actually. But I got thinking about what he meant by Be Like Water. Now, I don't know if this is Bruce's philosophy on it. It may well be, or it may be slightly different. I've come up with my own sort of version of it. But to me, Be Like Water is actually quite a nice little sort of mantra, because if you're like water, you're always striving to move forward. You're always progressing. If you're like water, you will mold yourself around obstacles so that you can continue to progress rather than waste your time dealing with an obstacle, which in most part is going to take a lot of effort or be unmovable. And the other thing was that water erodes problems slowly.
Yeah, but it's powerful though. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the Grand Canyon.
The only time water reacts harshly is when you hit it with a blunt force trauma directly. And I feel that that's a very good way of approaching problems in life. If you have a problem in life that presents itself, you work your way around it so you can continue to progress, but be mindful of the fact that you need to erode it one way or another. But if something blocks your passage completely and sharply, then you meet that with equal force. So you're not a pushover, and you stand up for yourself when challenged, but if it's a non-challenging obstacle, just work around it. Don't make a mountain out of it because it doesn't need to be. So just work around it, but also work on removing the obstacle long term.
Yeah. And I think that is more or less what he was getting at was like the flexibility or the adaptability of water, you know. Water can get into any crack there is. Water will get into that, you know.
No, so it just got me thinking about it, and I thought, oh, you know what, that wouldn't be a bad little chat for the show. So there you go.
This book called
Dr. Zeus.
Yes, Body Mind Mastery. By Dan Millman, and he's a sports psychologist, great author too. And he wrote a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior that they made into a movie, which is really good, and it introduced me to the idea of mindfulness. Great movie if you want to see it, for like super great stuff. I think that we can all learn from, and it was based off of his own life too, to a degree. He used the analogy of like being a rock versus bamboo. That bamboo, like a stick of bamboo out in the field, is super flexible. That the snow will come down on it, bamboo will bend. It has that flexibility versus the rock won't. So the water gets in between the cracks and eventually it will break down. But the same kind of idea of like being malleable, you know. One of our listeners who just competed at the Wings of Strength show, Rising Phoenix, Kate D'Annunzio, she had told me at one point, she's her job title is basically a change expert. She works with individuals and companies to help them embrace change, basically. And she said that the most successful people are the people that are the most resilient. And it can be hard to be resilient and change. Like, I'll send somebody a diet change, Dave, and sometimes they're like, oh God, but what do I do? It's like, well, you eat a half cup less rice, you know, but I already have my food prepared, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we'll just take that half cup out, eat a half cup less, you know?
And if eat your prep food and change it once your prep food is done.
Yeah. It won't be the end of the world. You know?
No, but Scott will shout at you because he's like that.
Do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day is not going to make a difference, but yeah, I think we all do that though. You know, we can be like resistant to change. Like, I'll get caught up and I'll be like, but if I really think about it, I'm like, wait, that's not a big deal at all. Really.
Yeah. I think we all do that. I think we all react emotionally quite often to change instead of actually sitting down and looking at it.
I get caught up with driving because I don't leave the house a lot. So I'm like, well, crap, it's already 4:00, Dave. I don't want to go up to the store now because when I drive home, it's going to be rush hour. And that means, I'm like, dude, what does that mean? It means I might be on the road for 5 more minutes? Is it that big of, you know what I mean? But I'll talk myself out of having gone to the store. I'll be like, I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll go at noon. It'll be a lot better then.
I think we all do it to various degrees on various things. But yes, yeah, I'm bad for stuff like that as well.
I like that. Guys, leave us questions for the next show. And, leave us comments too. Did you like Uncle Dave's advice? Did you learn something from your Uncle Dave today? I want to know. Leave us questions. Leave us comments. Tell Dave that he's loved because he needs to hear that in his life. He doesn't have a lot of people that tell him how important he is. So he needs that encouragement. Okay. He doesn't think he does. He doesn't want it, but he needs it. All right. Also,
you know what I do need?
What do you need?
I need my glasses. I need my glasses to sit on my face straight.
You don't need a supercharger anymore?
Oh, I still need a supercharger, yeah. But no, my glasses will not sit on my face straight, and it is really annoying the hell out of me.
I noticed that. Is it that one of your ears is maybe an inch taller than the other?
I think I've just got a wonky head.
I think, yeah, it's just one ear is up here, maybe. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Check out Strong Sports Nutrition. We've got all this stuff linked below, by the way. Supplementsource.ca for Canadians, TrueNutrition.com, code THINK, and of course, evalbloodanalysis.com. Go over there, get your labs done by Dave if you're in the UK. You guys have places set up all over England, don't you?
And more coming. We're just waiting for the API to be set up so we can log in. But yeah.
Okay. How about as I like to call it, pillars of gear? Do you guys have any? Are you doing any
course running
seminar?
at the moment? The next one starts probably beginning to middle of October. I'm also at the Gasp event at Fully Pumped Gym on Sunday.
Okay.
With Nathan Styles and Phoebe Goodwin and a few others, and there's going to be a Q&A and some other bits and bats going on.
Oh, no kidding. You're going to answer questions.
I am, and Nath is, and we're doing bloods as well. So, yeah, it should be a good little day.
That sounds like a great day.
I think there's a lot of Gasp goodies going free as well.
Are you going to wear a Gasp shirt while you're there?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm going to wear an Evo shirt.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody from Patreon. We appreciate you guys. Oh, Dave, I forgot. Let me ask you one more.
What, you bought me a supercharger?
Yeah, I got a Patreon question. I want to make sure I got this one on from Nick. So last 5-minute crew. Would there be any benefit to introducing an oral compound or low dose of Tren, like 70 milligrams a week at the beginning of a bulk cycle for the first 4 to 5 weeks in a bulk, or would it be best saved for a cut and maintain healthier bloods? Plan is to do an 18-week bulk followed by 5 weeks hold, then 10 to 12 weeks cut. Test and EQ will be there for the duration of the 38 to 40 week cycle, where NPP will be used during the bulk and possibly adding in more other compounds in the cut, such as an oral Tren and mast. Haven't decided yet, and determined by blood work.
No.
Yeah, I agree. He's already got a lot going on there, doesn't he?
Yeah, you're already planning quite a hefty whack. I would not be putting toxic stuff in early on.
Yeah.
Even at low dose, I wouldn't bother with it. You don't need it, for one. And if you're going to add it, I'd add it towards the end.
Yeah. Guys, for another episode of the podcast, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Dave.